Okay, you can call the meeting to order.
So we'll call the meeting to order.
I'd like to move the public comment period towards the end. We will be having guests.
Okay. So we'll start with the reading and the approval of the minutes for our September 15th, 2022 meeting. I need a motion to accept those minutes.
I've reviewed and I will make a motion, Eric.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is Maggie's volume working?
Yeah.
And I will make a motion to accept the check detail as presented.
Okay, need a second on that?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I have reviewed and I will make a motion to accept the cash flow statements as presented.
Need a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Going right into our agenda for today, we have the New Athens generating application was sent out to the board for review. So the motion today would just be to accept the application as submitted.
So I need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is Camptown. So I just need a motion to extend their sales tax exemption to the end of this year. They are almost wrapping up. I stopped in to see them. They were doing some interior painting and hopefully want to do a soft opening in January. But I will confirm with them on that.
They're trying for the ski season, is that probably in Europe or the?
I'm thinking, and I know last year they had some cabins available. So the cabins have been put on a website for rentals, but the restaurant and the hotel, they're wrapping that up for the end of this year.
Is the restaurant open to the public or is it specific?
I think it'll be open to the
It's open
public.
and I think it's gonna be Mexican too, right?
Yeah, that's what they told me. The GM on site said he thinks it's going to be Mexican, but I haven't gotten confirmation on it yet.
So the sales tax exemption is just for
Just to
materials to finish up the.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Maggie.
Need a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Champlain Hudson, Paul just told me today he's reviewing it with their lawyers. They're going to be scheduling the closing. And then Champlain Hudson is moving into their financial closing soon after. So that's my update on Champlain Hudson.
Okay.
Okay. Flip Mine Solar. So our public hearings were held both in the town of Coxsackie and Athens. The links were sent out. We are waiting on the final transcripts from the stenographers. We have extended the comment period to be open until October 28th. Once we have all the comments and the transcriptions from the meetings, we will draft our responses to those comments.
Our
And-
responses will be up on our website? Is
Yeah.
that where-
Yeah, everything will be posted.
There'll be an appendix to the final finding statement too.
Right. So we are in the process of also updating the finding statement. If you find any discrepancies or typos, let me know. And then we will send that out to the board well in advance of our November meeting. So we'd like to take action in November on that.
And we do have a couple of changes right now we'll brief you on. One, the sales tax impact to the county has been cut in half. I think we talked about this during a meeting that, it seemed really weird to April and I both, the sales tax they were looking to bait compared to other projects. Just the numbers didn't seem right. And even they were sort of like, we're trying our best. Anyway, long story short is they were going under the assumption that they were going to take the exemption under what's called the New York State solar retail tax exemption, which does exempt the state share, but then counties can opt in or opt out on the county share. And in this case, under that rule, the county opted out, which means they're liable for the county share. Well, after we did some more digging into this, and I went and looked at a couple of my CERTA seminars, which they actually needed to apply under what's called the production tax credit. And the production tax credit essentially is, so anything you use, material, supplies, equipment to produce something that will be taxed later as a product. So in this case, basically everything that makes electricity right up to the last electron coming out of the what you call it, inverters, that's all equipment to generate. Roads, fencing, screening, that's not eligible, okay? The power line between the solar plant and the main power line, you see they got those poles, that's not exempt because that's considered the transportation part of it. So once we do the numbers, basically what it did is it brought the projected amount of the project subject to sales tax down from like 125 or 126 million down to 62, 63 million in exchange. So basically took the county sales tax hit from 5 million down to 2.5 million. The second thing that we've made, so we're in the process of going through revising all those numbers and everything now. The second thing is that we've made a proposed change in, and I talked with Eric about it a little bit yesterday, is there was if you remember, there was a $500,000 economic development pilot that would go to our parks for future economic development. And so long story short, some people at the county were concerned that it looks like they have red ink, which they do have red ink if the project would happen regardless of the IDA given the benefits, okay? So we got that down now. At first it was like a 3 million in red ink, which is, again, I want everybody here understands is that the project doesn't get built. That's like imaginary red ink, okay? So anyway, we got the hit down to about 500,000. The county got 100,000 from them for selling an easement to get into the property, which we threw into the pro forma, which brings them down like 400. So what we propose doing is that 500,000, still putting in economic development, but diverting it mainly to the county, 250,000 to help us finish up the budget on the tourism center, and 250 into their economic development fund. And we discussed that with both Warren, Sean, they're all very in favor of it, et cetera. And in the finding statement, it will all be written up, but because there was some comment to kind of allude that maybe this was free money to the IDA or something. But if you read the finding statement, it was going into the parks account to build business parks. But we're going to make it clearer after talking to them. I mean, and you know, we've got a couple million coming in. You have a couple million coming in from the other Champlain Hudson and a few other projects. So, and these are projects we're working on anyway. So
Right. So it'll still go into economic development for the county. It's just going to be designated and restricted.
So those are two changes to date right now.
So any questions on Flipmine? Okay. Wilder Wyndham. So Paul did not join us, but okay. So Wilder Wyndham approached us about the CPACE in the past. That has kind of gone to the wayside. The county is updating their language in their resolutions, but now when Wilder Wyndham is approaching us, they just want permission to go from 14 million to 18 million in their mortgage. So because we have a lease back, we have an interest. There's information in the packet that I sent you on it, but the resolution, I can read the resolution. It's attached to your packet. It would just be approving the execution and delivery of an amended, restated, and consolidated building loan mortgage, financing statement, fixture filing, assignment of leases and rents, and security agreement, and gap mortgage of the agency's leasehold interest in certain property of the company. So we just need to,
Move that resolution.
yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to move that resolution forward.
I can second that motion.
Second.
Did you get it first?
Okay,
All
Fred,
those in favor?
Aye.
thank you. Okay, that's Wilder. Going on to our business parks quickly, we have a contract, the contract with Stewart's has been executed, and the term sheet with Windsor Hospitality Management and Southern Realty Development has been executed for the hotel, and a draft contract has been sent to them for review. The layout on the road and extension of water and sewer into the site has started. Do you want to update the board?
Yeah, so everything's as smooth as you can get at this point. We've got everybody on board. It's going to take some coordination because likely there's going to be at least two buildings and a road all being built at the same time. But the nice thing about down there is there's actually access to that site without everybody getting on top of each other. Delaware is doing the engineering for the road design. The intention is to design it to county standards, turn towards the county. And now we're just in that kind of that early stages where everybody gets a little squirrely, the hotel engineer contacted.
Right, so I talked to Al with our surveyor. So we have to get 3 surveys kind of.
So Santos is going to handle subdivision. We got those lots all laid out, so they're ready to go. He's going to move the subdivision process. But it's just a typical, like the hotel's engineer called the other day and he's like, how can I can't design this. I don't know where the pipes are. Where do I tie in the elevation? And I talked to him later now, I said, man, there's like 56 sheets of drawings in a hotel thing, and like one half of one sheet is your tie-ins. It's flat level site. Well, it'll all work out long before you go to break ground. We'll have them elevations, you'll have them for tie-ins, et cetera. So it's just a part of, stewards isn't the issue. They're really
Yeah.
good because stewards, they do this.
And I've
the whole
introduced
time.
them, so they're all going to be working together.
Did Stuart say what their timeline you think is
They're gonna look, they don't set us, they're looking to break ground as fast as they can. I don't think they'll go in the winter if they get approval, but I would say in the spring, they're
gonna be?
going
By
to.
spring, they're probably going, yeah.
Yeah.
And they move pretty quick.
So actually, one of the items that April put on the agenda was to get the board to approve, let us start moving forward on the tourism center, because we're gonna have to start coming up with an alternative and start getting that design process going. We had already started the process through the county with Quarter Skill Engineering, who's on their approved consultants list. We'd like to just stick with Quarter Skill, keep the continuity with it. But again, I think we've all been on the same page, you know, the IDA had the idea to do this, raise the money for it. And I really would like to see the IDA turn over a turnkey, clip the ribbon for them type thing, you know, building.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal, it's just managing a project.
How many rooms in the hotel?
80.
80?
Oh, 80 in the hotel.
And the expectation is people to be stopping off the thruway, or we need additional rooms or a combination of both?
So just to give you an idea, I spoke with Warren Hart, he stopped down to see me at the Riverdale Day. They just bought data from Airbnb, who they, you know, they don't sell names, but they sell so what they got from Airbnb was occupancy rates, average daily, all the stuff you would see in Smith's Travel Report, ADR, all that. Greene County last year, $100 million in Airbnb sales in Greene County.
Wow.
Gross sales?
$100 million in Greene County. Now, I gotta tell you, ski slopes combined didn't do 100 million. I can't think of, I bet you all our resorts combined here together
Do they,
would be hard pressed to
when
have
they-
done 100 million in
That
sales.
data doesn't break it down like by town?
It may, you know, it was-
I'll get a copy.
yeah, Warren said he'd share it with us, so we went,
I mean,
he'd
I
share it
know
with
the
us.
mountaintop's gonna be huge, but I'd be curious to see what the rest.
Be surprised what's really happening right here.
Oh, yeah, because there's people renting out like big ticket, like big numbers.
And not to burst their bubble, but the county is again talking about a hot tax. And I would say they've been talking about it for 36 years I've been around. This is a hotel occupancy tax. And this will probably they might make it this time, because now they're looking at, you look at 100 million at 4 or 5%. You know,
Even if it's 1%, you know, yeah.
you know, you're leaving a lot of money on the table that everybody else is charging them if you're in some other county, so. But I was, you know, I told you a while back, I told you that Airbnb had published a report in Greene, 2 times I saw it published, and Greene County had higher rentals than Saratoga. We were like the highest in Upper Hudson Valley. That shocked me. I thought Saratoga would like top us, but we were even above Columbia County.
In Wyndham, you can't even, you don't even know who the Airbnbs are.
No, you
You
don't.
don't even know, so how are they gonna get that tax money?
Well,
Oh, what happened to Airbnb, I'll have to collect it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just like they do an online, just like they do an online sales. If you notice, since a few years ago when the state started charging online sales, you see on your Amazon bill now, state tax. Didn't used to see that on your bill, you know, years ago, but, so. I don't know, I think we've got a good plan. I think things are really it's gonna be interesting next spring on that site down there.
It's going to be very busy.
We have about 1.6 or 1.7, I think, left for a restaurant, right up in the front quadrant. And,
So yeah, there's room for a
Do we
third
have
pad.
anybody interested? Or
we haven't, to be honest with you, to be honest with Dan, we haven't marketed, we haven't done anything. Not for naught, we've probably been busier than we've ever been here with 3 pending sales at one time and big solar. So, but the one guy, John Joseph, from Southern Development, he does a lot of retail work and he knows a lot of restaurant builders.
Yeah.
So he said, look, when you get the final subdivision set in the lot, give it to me and I can't promise you, but I'll shop it around the guys I know. That's probably the best lead you
It'll
can
probably
get.
go quick when we get a little further.
I think once you see a hotel, the stewards stuff happening there, it's gonna be a desirable lot.
Brakes on it, then it'll happen.
Well, I drafted a press release. Eric approved it, so it'll be going out. I just had to I got a quote from the county. I'm just waiting on their approval. So that'll be going out this week, but we do mention that there's room for a third pad
Yep.
for a restaurant for that site.
what kind of restaurant do we expect to go in there? A chain?
Like
or
a chain, probably.
We couldn't I'm just curious if there's
So I
a
don't think
local guy or something.
I don't know
that's-
that we necessarily have an expectation, but if you ask my
Right.
professional opinion, it's gonna probably be a chain.
They're just-
Because we've had this whole conversation with locals and all the rest of this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say this, but again, I'm a longtime resident here, and I'm hard pressed to think of somebody that I know that's had a successful restaurant and then built a second one and then built a
Right.
third one. You know who does that? Chain owners.
Yeah, exactly.
Chain owners build a Cracker Barrel, they make a lot of money, they open a second franchise, they open a third chance. I don't, so, and I don't know of anybody, all the restaurants I know here locally, either the really good owner operators
Yeah.
are old as the hills and try to figure out how they get out without losing their whole thing.
Yeah,
And the,
You
I
want
don't
that
know.
sign
I'd love
on
to
the
see it
freeway
local.
that says,
Yeah.
there's a chain restaurant, somebody's driving and says, oh, there's a whatever.
and I know what that
They
is.
recognize
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yep.
It's a safer way to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna be more than likely. It's gonna be some investor that already owns 3 in Utica and wants to get in this market and doesn't know anything about here except there's a pad and an opportunity. So,
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So any other questions on East? Okay, so exit 21 West, we closed with Beljar Holdings. So they acquired that 1.7 acre parcel. They're the ones that are going to rehabilitate the existing garage that's on that site.
And it seems like the SBDC will be
Oh, cool.
supporting them.
So I introduced them to Donna. They also had made introductions with economic development, see what we can do for Beljar.
and right now, so now with the hotel, everything's sort of up in the air again. I don't know if you saw the paper, Jake Halen is stepping down, he's retiring as the CEO, president at the end of the year.
You said hotel.
Oh,
So
uh,
Columbia Memorial Hospital, right.
You know, for a long time there, the beginning of summer through the middle of summer, they were pressing for weekly meetings with all the teams and everything. They've been, we haven't had a meeting, they've been dead silent for what, how long? A month and a half or more? I said from day one, I didn't see it happen, and it looks like it's not gonna happen. We didn't hear, but the county gave me a kind of heads up that they were gonna have to they were gonna reconsider the investment in the sewer, in the gas line. The gas line number went from $1 million when we looked at it to $1.6 million by the time the county priced it, to now it's over 2.2. And in 6 months, it's up another.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that, I haven't heard officially, but I was given a kind of a heads up that we may have to reconsider that. And,
Is that federal money they're using?
federal, they were using that, ARPA
ARPA
money.
money.
What's the footprint in square footage for that building?
They were gonna be like 20 per floor for 40, I think. You know, it's been a moving target.
Right,
so,
but something around 20,000.
per floor. So they were
Per
originally
floor.
looking at about 40, and then the last model, they kind of brought that down a little bit. I don't remember what the number is. In fact, I personally, I felt you're chasing details before you fix the problems, you know, so I didn't kind of fuzzed all that stuff out, but I think they're under 20 per floor now.
What kind of business would you think would be able to use that, given some of the constraints you were talking
Yeah,
about?
so we always saw that site when we developed it as kind of being a two-tiered property with some retail and relatively shallower lots up on the road.
Right,
Raise the elevation, would not cut everything down, but use T-wall or, the segment of walls, level of site. And then in the back part, we could get, we could get a small distribution segment there if we wanted to down in the back down there. I wouldn't really advocate for that, given the tourism and the place, but could be more retail, it could be, we'd love to get some kind of attraction. That's, what we all were hoping originally, could we get something in here that would help support the tourism industry as well as generate sales tax dollars?
So from our EIS, we have, I can copy this for the board, but there's an executive summary, and then we have alts for the project
Oh,
for
you
that
do?
site. So Renee drafted this or helped with Delaware Engineering, but I can share that with the board if you want to take a look at that.
Renee, just to go back to
Original
construction
goals.
costs, where was the county getting that number from?
From Central Hudson.
From Central Hudson?
Yeah.
And that was them?
And you gotta pay Central Hudson to give you that number too.
That's great.
If you remember, we did it last time, it wasn't a lot, we had to pay them like $750 for
Is
engineering.
it possible that Central Hudson is putting prices out there to make things go away because they
No,
don't want to extend
abs-
lines anymore?
No, quite the opposite.
Oh, they wanted.
They weren't, everybody's of dead fear, Kevin, in the Climate Act, there's actually, whether they move forward with it or not, and
Right.
Maggie's more familiar with the terms than me, there's actually language in there that, by 2026 or 2028, no more extensions of natural gas service
Because like
lines.
National Grid, I think they're moving away, they're like selling their gas business, like they got out of it completely, like they didn't want to be in it anymore because it was, so I just wondered if that was. one of
And I
those
see
things.
Central Hudson laying lines down the road down here all week. They've been burying, I don't know who they're going to or what, but
Okay.
ours is just the opposite. They're trying to
They
get as much
actually
in the
want-
ground
Okay, all right.
than before.
I'll just throw this out as just a random idea. I mean, maybe it would be something I think economic development could work on, but what about some kind of sports center or something along those lines?
Anything is possible.
Yeah, we're just
Certainly-
kind of in a dead zone
Well,
with
you got the
respect to that.
proximity to the exit, that's the biggest thing it's got going for it, and visibility to the throughway, so whatever is gonna benefit from that could be anything, if you got a
Yeah.
developer.
But both those parcels, east and west, one thing I forgot to mention too was that, the parcels are split by zoning districts. And the town is changing that. They're gonna change the whole lot to highway commercial.
So Donna, to your point, it'd be a great spot for a dome, a
Yes,
soccer dome, I know what you're thinking, like that Affirm soccer dome up by the airport, that place is crazy.
I
but
don't
There's-
think we have the population
That's
density.
true.
It's a busy exit, but it's transient.
Right.
It's all the people going up to the mountain, it's all the 100 million worth of Airbnb people that are playing soccer. So
yeah.
Yeah, but I would say though, for a multi-use kind of sports thing, if, I don't have travel team kids, but I certainly know them. If you really had a hotel there and all that travel team sort of stuff, who knows?
There's a
I don't know
real-
though how you use it full time.
there's a-
trust me, I mean, I spent
Yeah,
many, many nights and days driving to
I
Athens.
Well,
It'd be great
that's-
to have.
they'll drive.
Yeah.
I mean, you get pull people up from
Vermont.
Kingston.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just
It'd have to be a big geographic pull,
I mean, that
Yeah.
would be up to the developer to
Yeah.
decide if he's got a market or not, but it certainly is, it could fit there, it could, that kind of scenario could.
Like we said, the hotel being built and other activity there is just gonna increase the interest in it. We're gonna recharge our accounts a little bit by making some land sales and get made whole a little bit, so we have some money to work with. And we'll have time to focus on that when,
So-
like I said, we're doing 3 land deals at once and everybody, think it's like no big deal, but there's like a gazillion details every time you sell
Yeah.
something and.
So Columbia Memorial Hospital has their option available to them till the end of this year. So in January, they can either renew or we can start marketing it for other items. It's their options.
okay.
And I don't know if anybody, you noticed the urgent care in Catskills still not open? The brand new one St. Pete's built? And the rumor mill's telling me that, I've heard it from multiple parties, that they can't get enough staff.
That's true.
They probably built
That's
close to a million plus, over $1 million building. It's gorgeous. Great cat.
Albany Med has one near me on 155 and going. They haven't been open in 6 months.
Yeah,
Albany Med, the hospitals themselves have no staff.
they've had floors.
It's a kind of a disaster. If you get sick, you really don't want to be,
Don't get sick.
first-hand experience. They do not have, Albany Med, which is your regional care facility, does not have enough staff. I mean, having found that out myself.
I sat on a board meeting for them, they anticipate they lost $10 million in the last year just due to staffing and ability to staff.
Your staffing costs are.
And they were financially strapped.
Yeah.
And then they gotta pay the people that are coming in, because I know a couple of nurses that they're getting paid crazy amounts of
Basically
money.
double the salary that they were getting.
There was a good article in the Business Review, I think a couple of weeks ago, that covered it, and it's.
And, on the west side,
All
Don,
hospitals, all healthcare.
on the west side, you gotta consider, we were working on the west side. We moved there as a priority. We identified it years in advance. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of it all, the exit 20, the quality in thing came up. So I don't say we dropped anything, but all of a sudden we were scrambling to get control of that property so that we didn't get somebody put a coat of paint on and have a shitty ass property there.
Yeah,
So now everything's focused. We've come to full circle. We got the throughway land. We've done very well on the throughway land. If you paid attention to the numbers of what's been going on, what we paid and what we sold to stewards, we did very well. And now we'll have major lots sold off, and then April can be with Mile Helper. We'll start focusing on that a little bit more.
Paul, do you know what BBL's building at the Selkirk exit?
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, there's a corner lot that's been there forever. It looks like a convenience store, but I didn't know, it might be.
Yeah, BBL, I don't know if that's not their prime
It's not,
territory.
that's why, but they might just be doing the foundation and site work. It might be the BBL Carlton group. So I don't know what's going there, but it's a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
For retail, I mean, in terms of,
I think it's probably gonna be a convenience store, gas station,
so they might be doing
you know.
either, the one that's downstate could be, you know, you see Cumberland Farms doing some
Yeah.
expansion.
It's a good spot, it's a needed spot, there's a lot of truck
Good spot.
traffic there too, if they did diesel pumps, but I still haven't seen a sign of what they're doing yet.
Not sure about Selkirk, but BBL is working on where we were tenants on Mansion Street. So that'll be Schoolhouse Pediatrics. They're expanding over there. So the building is being renovated now.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see him doing something.
Yeah, you and me, how much grief I
I
get
know.
about it. We don't even own it, we rented
We
it.
never owned that
Wow,
building,
It's not ours.
but it's being renovated, so it looks good. I did ask them to come in at 8:45 so that we could get through our agenda, which we have gotten through our agenda. Paul joined us late. Paul, we did do the Wilder Wyndham resolution. I don't know if you want to update us anything on Champlain Hudson?
Yeah, so just for Wilder Wyndham, just for the record, we went through this whole hassle with them on the CPACE financing, which is, you get this, it's a type of financing where the lender gets in essence a tax lien on the property for equipment financing. And the problem that creates is that our pilot payments would then be subordinate to a second mortgage payment. So that led, because the county did not correctly do their law, did not have, some priority for a pilot payment. So, we had bargained for at least being unsecured, but not being in a third position. Okay, so they ended up dropping that because it just, financing, when you do financing, you need the ability to get regular conventional loans. Anything that's odd with financing, like ground leases, any kind of discussion about priority of tax liens, is just the Wild West to get anything done. So they ended up backing away from that. So all of the two resolutions, we should just note, that we passed two resolutions on the CPACE thing are without force and effect because they never closed on it. So we just want to note that in the record, okay? So what they ended up doing, what we ended up approving today was just an approval for conventional financing, a second mortgage, supplemental financing, and they seem to be doing well. So that's, I just wanted everyone to kind of bring everyone up to date. And then the county and I are working on redoing their legislation to show that pilot payments would be treated the same as regular tax payments, i.e. that the CPACE loan program would be subordinate to our pilot payment. That's the fix, but the law, so it was a little screwed up as to how it was approved. So just want kind of people to know that. In terms of Chippy, we seem to be getting there. The documents are in decent shape. I assume we're going to close either this month or late this month. So that should be moving along.
It looks like it went up quite a bit too, it went from 14 million to 18 million,
That was Wilder. That was Wilder's mortgage.
So they took 4 million, and then of that 4 million of new money, they're paying mortgage tax on that, so we're not giving them a mortgage.
Separate.
Yeah, it's just, in the documents that I sent around, it says that we're not giving them a mortgage tax exemption, but because we have an interest in the property, we have to sign to subordinate our interest, just kind of like the lien rights that we have, to subordinate our interest to the mortgage, which is, obviously we want to help them get their financing.
We do that routinely.
Yeah.
They seem to be doing well up there. It looks great if you've been, they put a lot of money into that place for sure.
Mike was busy, yeah.
So just on another note to on our other project, so Aaron's project, looks like tonight he should get the final planning board approval. The ZBA voted unanimously for the variances. The planning board neg-decked the project as they well should have. And tonight is the last action, is the planning board action so by hopefully, tonight when everybody goes to bed, he's got his final approvals to get his building permits reissued and get that project.
Renee, did he get a partial permit so he could work on floors that didn't affect?
They gave him a permit to allow him to work on, not on the hotel building itself, the permit allowed him to basically winterize it, secure it, which they really couldn't deny him the right to do that. And then they allowed him to work on the other buildings, on anything that was in compliance with anything that was out of compliance, like the wire, the event center. There's a deck he built on the back, and that was something he added without approval, so he can't work on the deck until he.
Gotcha.
Almost, that part's almost done. I mean, that's looking great.
Yeah, I think the whole site's coming along really
What have
nicely.
you heard as far as getting it back on schedule, what the new schedule might look like? Do you have an idea when you might actually have that
Yeah,
hotel?
I told him he's figured that they're gonna be, he figures they're gonna be opening if everything goes well in April.
I mean, they can close it in now and start, get.
Yeah, they can really go to town now, because you won't see what's going on, because it's all gonna be inside, but they
Yeah,
can,
exactly.
the stuff that takes a lot of time is pretty much done.
They'll bring temporary heat, that's gonna cost them.
Right, and so-
Fortune this year.
I forgot to tell you too, it was when I ran this on the street, we talked about, because this we got extended, we were looking at when the pilot would start, did he need some consideration to push it back a year? But I talked to him, and he's gonna be like 98% complete by the March 1st tax on status date this coming year. So I said, look, you need to take the pilot now. I mean, Gordon could treat you favorably, maybe not bring it up, and then but the pilot's gonna then cause you to go backwards. And one thing we want to avoid is, all of a sudden a big tranche of tax money one year and then a reduction the next year. So we thought he's gonna stay right on schedule with what's
Hopefully you
there.
can start getting some weddings booked solid and,
He's got them booked right, starting in April, and
yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
So what was the resolution on the restaurant? The top floor was,
well, the ZBA approved the variance, so.
oh, okay.
And now the planning board has to approve it from the site plan approval process, but I don't see that not happening. I mean, and all the other stuff on the site plan is all little tiny minutia stuff. There's a little deck, there's it's all very, well, he did put one addition on the building, I guess that's a little bigger. But it's not, the big issue was the height.
Yeah, right.
And everything. He's gotten past that hurdle now.
Oh, great.
I don't think I've ever seen a situation in my career where a ZBA has approved a variance and then a planning board has denied that variance. I don't know that they,
Well, no, the variance runs with the land, so it's,
no, but in this case, the ZBA gave him the height, okay? But he now has to go to the planning board for approval. I've never seen a situation where the planning board has said, well, we're gonna ignore the ZBA
Possibly.
and we're not gonna let you have that top.
he has to get an amendment to his site plan approval.
That's what he says, that's his final step.
Yeah,
Just there.
if the variance is in place, then they can't amend the site, or in essence, take away or supplant the variance.
What's already
Yeah,
approved
so,
or attached.
and then we don't see it happen, it's all calmed down quite a bit, There's a few people that still feel aggrieved, but it's just not on any basis of fact type of thing, but it's gotten very quiet and, yeah, we're looking forward. Be glad to see that get done.
Well, it's a real asset to the community. I mean,
Beyond it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's people that have, taken action about business as a real estate investment because of the hotel. Yeah, so the impact of holding it up is not just affecting the
Big
hotel.
ripple effect, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot more people than you think. I mean, like Schaefer got it, my understanding is they were getting an Italian ice machine because if there's gonna be that much traffic now, they can make that pay.
Yeah.
Something as small as that, what if, make 50,000 a year extra on Italian ice, good for your company, good for your
or
business.
people that have purchased, homes and upgraded them to, use for Airbnbs or common, yeah.
All the way around, I think it'll pop in the village, so we're getting there.
You guys better go and get your boat done.
I'm gonna make that, I already got an idea now for that, I'm gonna.
Oh, so while we're talking
I'm thinking
about,
that's like $500 a night, hands down.
yeah, Empire
Park
Riverfront.
my van down.
So we're not going to extend the pilot. I mean, the pilot will start in January. I'm ready. I have all those, their sales tax exemption expires at the end of February of 2023. Would the board want to extend it?
Well, he's gotta make the request, but I advised him, because he thought he would make it, and I said, look, I think you should cover your back and extend it for a couple more months. It's not, no harm, no foul on our
Well, I can
part.
present it to the board in January.
Yeah,
Okay.
but talk to him, get him to make a request. But I suggested, I said, Aaron, there's always all that last minute stuff you're buying, and it don't seem like much, nickel dime here, but you add it all up when you're trying to finish up your FFE, and you forgot you didn't get the sheets, and now you gotta pay the tax on the sheets. So,
I will represent that to the board.
Hey, Paul, get it signed somewhere? Is it-
No, that's for Paul.
Oh, okay.
Any news on an operator for Patrick Henry's?
he is, I think that he's got the guy from, Swift, he's still lined
I
up.
thought they backed out.
I don't think so, it's not now, Aaron. And they were just waiting to get a few things done. In fact, he was supposed to get the CO on that piece yesterday. They finished up the putting the pizza oven stuff in it, because it required a stainless steel welding, double walled exhaust system that had all be welded. So not everybody and their brother does that, so but that was done. And
Coming out of that.
Oh, yeah. April, do you have the minutes circulating around to be signed?
Thank you. I did
I
not.
thought I had seen it.
Would the IDA be involved in all in the, I think it's the New York Forward grant?
Oh, so we are working with the county. James Hannas, who's the new, he replaced Carl down at the county. He has actually been meeting with the state on different options. So I want to say maybe like 2 months ago, I submitted a survey showing that we would be interested in that. So there's certain requirements. So the Exit 21 East is only 7 acres, but they're looking for shovel-ready parks that are 50 acres. But I submitted both the Hotel State, Exit 21 West, and the Carroll Water project because it's granting for infrastructure. Right now, my understanding is it's not open. The application's not open yet. They're still hiring somebody to monitor that grant.
Okay,
So we have expressed interest. The county has met with them
okay.
once it's
Think
open.
about that one, or you think about the one that they're thinking the village might get for downtown?
Oh, the DRI?
You know what? Both, in fact.
Right,
Yeah.
so Catskill, Cooksaki, and I think even Greenville might be submitting for the DRI. Cooksaki looks very favorable.
What is the?
Downtown revitalization initiative.
And then, Donna, it depends on what they do with it.
Exactly, right.
If they do it with, put money into business promotion with private sector, there may be some way for us to help there, but most of the stuff, it's not really, they're doing public improvements.
Sandy's doing something? with that?
Small projects.
Yeah.
Sandy's doing something? It's called something.
Yeah, and the village one, yeah, it's my
Yeah.
understanding.
I saw, we paid the water bill and I saw them working.
Because even in Tannersville, housing's one of them.
That's what I
Okay?
kept, yeah, housing.
So of course, we're interested, but they can't give us a straight answer yet. Are you gonna have a private developer build this that's gonna be subject to a property tax? Or are you gonna work with RUPCO, Rural Ulster
Right.
Housing, or whatever they are? Because that's what they did in Prattsville. Their properties are tax exempt, they're nonprofit, so then you would need an IDA to come in.
Right, right.
So they still haven't figured that out. I will say, I don't know if they moved, did the mountain move forward on the Hamilton yet? Hamilton?
Oh, yeah.
They did.
Oh, they rebuilt the whole building.
I haven't even been up there, but so
Yeah.
Wyndham bought the Hamilton Hotel as you go into Wyndham, back across the creek from Wilder. And they had contacted me because they wanted to do employee housing.
Yeah.
And we said, yeah, we'd help you, but then I said, what's your budget? He goes, oh, we figured it's a couple $100,000. I said, well, it just doesn't work, economically. It just does.
It's always empty, it's not
On that, so is that?
April, did we hear anything back from?
Oh, yeah, they got it.
Back from Capital Housing Authority folks?
No, I actually have an email into Tim Mattice, and I will follow up with him.
Okay, because I had another thought when I was down in the, so I'll connect back with you.
You want to, you can't walk away either.
No, I know. Yeah, you can't
First
find
world
it.
problems, I guess.
Yeah, you can't find it. No, good for
I
him.
would,
Yeah,
I would
he
say.
got booted out of it. He built that, Sean.
And I'm-
because
Charlie, yeah.
Charlie moved in on it.
Yeah.
So poetic justice.
Really?
Charlie's in bad shape.
His health is not great.
Okay, so we are still recording. I lost the feed there for a second.
He's out.
Trucking, all that.
Yeah, he was great. He built some houses. He was a good guy.
You know, Nick, I think had some initial, and Nick's, I love him, but he's a combative guy.
Yeah.
But he's-
Thank you.
They became, I think, pretty friendly after the initial stuff.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Okay, Eric. I'm back up and running.
Okay, so we're recording, so we have, members of City Hollow.
And, yeah, as a friend, I said,
Sleepy Hollow
Here
Lake.
to
sometimes he can't help
read a
himself.
statement or?
Well, yeah, just, we just.
Yeah, he can't help himself sometimes.
To address you, it will take us.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm sorry, just for the minutes, I'm just going to introduce. So we have Al Kaplan, Janet Kaplan, Ken Gifford, and Laurel Mann here.
Well,
Wolf, Laura Wolf, so sorry.
She's not barking, she's just.
yeah, you've been Laurel Man for so long.
Okay,
They wanted me to go by Wolfman, but I wouldn't do it.
Oh, that's good.
okay, I've got it now, thank you.
Yeah, we just wanted an opportunity to talk to you for a few minutes. You may or may not know, over the past few years, we've borrowed a lot of money to make substantial capital expenditures at Sleepy Hollow Lake. We borrowed about $7 million and completely rebuilt the sewer plant. So we borrowed another $10 million to do the roads, the pools, the buildings, we built a lot of drainage easements and swales to keep the phosphorus out of the lake. So we can't borrow anymore. We're now, with our dues, we're paying it back. And we still need to continue to monitor the lake. We estimate, we do monitor the lake now. We spend a substantial amount of money. We had Princeton Hydro come in and talk to us about how much additional money it would take us to keep monitoring once the solar farms come in and test and make sure the water is okay. And, you know, they say it's gonna be fine, we hope it's gonna be fine, but we still need to test. We have, but our only source of income is our dues. We have about 860 homes. We have 400 approximately undeveloped lots. The county owns 300 additional undeveloped lots for people who have just walked away from their lots. The dues and the taxes are too much. So when we set our budgets, we have to be very careful not to raise them too much because we don't want to lose. People who own their homes will, you know, like in any case, won't walk away from it usually. But you get to a certain tipping point with the lots that people will say it's too much money, I can't do it, and they walk away, they don't pay they first don't pay their dues, which hurts us, and then they don't pay their taxes, and it goes back to the county, more lots to the county. So we're very careful not to raise the dues too much, we try. So we're asking for your help, for some assistance, and asking you to basically use your leverage when you're negotiating with the solar developers, Flint Mine, Hecate, and whoever else might come down the road, to have them agree to assist us with the cost of the additional monitoring. With Flint Mine, they say they're going to use about 200,000 panels. So if they were to give us $50,000 a year, that's 25 cents a panel. It can't possibly make or break their deal, but it means a lot to us, and it would mean a lot to our community. Based on, I mean, we only can get our numbers from like published reports because they're not giving us any. We know they have a nice CERTA contract with a floor amount. We estimate they'll be generating revenue of at least $20 million a year. That's going to be the floor. They can always try to get more. So $50,000 a year can't possibly make a big difference to them, but it would make a big difference to us. We think that you can use your leverage to do that. With Freepoint Solar, you've got the developer to give money to the STEM Foundation. You're getting them to give you an additional 500 or so for the IDA's purposes. And we think that you have the ability to negotiate this. And so we're asking you to reconsider what your statements were in the findings, that we don't need any money, and that you weren't going to help us. We don't think it would mean a lot to the developers in the scheme of things, but it does mean a lot to us. And if you have any questions, I can answer them, or these guys can answer them much better than I can.
You know, there's an opportunity right now for both of us to prosper here. We've always said this is a win-win situation. We're converting basically plowed, tilled corn and soybean fields into pollinator plants and solar. By all stretch of imagination, it should get a lot better for our lake, and we know that. And we appreciate the land use decisions that you're making here. I think we're all making the right move. But, and this is where I think the opportunity exists, on August 29, Flint Mine submitted amendments to the Article 10 siting board and the judge. Basically, what we call value engineering, VEing the project. From everything we understand from our solar committee and people with experience elsewhere on this, that's pretty common practice. I'm in the design bid business. We do it all the time when we're overbid like we've been the last few years. They say that it's approximately 1/3 of the operating and construction costs could be reduced in the process, and they have some major changes that concern us. The changes are, they sold us on low-impact construction, leaving the fields basically vegetated, small machines driving it in for panels. Now they're modifying that in the way the electric is distributed, which means it's going to be regraded and it's going to be compacted. It's a major, major change. We're starting from scratch, but so are you. If a third of this comes down, or whatever the number is, the but-for changes. The ROI, the return on investment, has got to be different. So there is some gap here that I think we've got in timing to make this happen if we want to. And that's the big if, I guess, from our standpoint. We would sure appreciate it if that's still possible. But in no way are we trying to stop or impede this project. We just need to have a little help.
That's all we came to say. If you have any questions.
Does anybody on the board have any questions or anything?
Well, the process is we'll take these comments. Our comment period is open until October 28th. Once we get all the comments, we will draft a response, and that will be made public.
So we'll respond to every single.
Yes.
Every single
We don't
comment.
expect you to make a decision
No,
right now.
and in a public hearing. And I did watch the public
questions.
hearing, just FYI.
Yeah. No, we didn't expect a decision today, but we just came to state our case again. And if you have anything that you'd like to ask us, we're happy to answer.
Okay.
Since you watched the public hearing, just one note about our community showing up and they support us because we've been working hard on this. Thousands of volunteer hours tracking the solar project. A lot of them ask questions about, well, what happens if this doesn't work to the IDA? And you weren't the people to ask the questions. It's a DEC Army Corps question. So if you read a lot of that, please, it's not coming from the management of Sleepy Hollow Lake. We understand what the process is. We know it in detail. But just a warning, but you're seeing their emotion.
No, I understand.
Okay, so I appreciate that you did watch. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you guys for
Okay.
coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hearing us. We appreciate it. Here you are.
Not as big as our old.
Maggie had to leave. She had a 9 o'clock, so Maggie did left the meeting.
Number one director when somebody's not.
So once we adjourn, I'll stop recording.
Yeah, so Eric, I guess you should really adjourn the meeting officially.
Yes, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And then,
I will.
Want to tell us, hey, we're offline?
Okay.